The seven children in Ephesus lived during the first half of the 3rd AD century. There are some disagreements about their names: Antoninus, Dionysius, Hexacustodianus, Iamblichus, John, Maximilian, and Martinianus, according to the Encyclopedia Papyrus Laurus Britannica, while according to other sources, one of the seven was called Constantine and not Antoninus. These young men, in the years of the Roman Emperor Decius, who lived from 201 to 251, and from 249 to 251 was on the throne of the Roman Empire, were persecuted for their faith in Christ, like thousands of other Christians. Decius, who was killed in battle against the Goths, is considered one of the cruelest persecutors of Christians. After distributing their possessions to the poor, they fled to a cave where they hid. There they prayed to God and asked him to take them to him, as they did not want to fall into the hands of Decius's men. They even seem to have been targeted by the emperor himself, who went to Ephesus and sought them out to force them to sacrifice to idols. When he was informed that they had hid in the cave and died, he ordered that the entrance to the cave be walled up. Around 445 AD, Theodosius the Younger, who remained on the throne from 408 to 450, was emperor of Byzantium. It was the time when the empire was fundamentally shaken by Nestorianism and Monophysitism, two of the most dangerous Christian sects. There was also intense questioning of the Christian doctrine of the resurrection of the dead. Indeed, many bishops had joined the heretical view that the dead cannot be resurrected. Theodosius, who was called the Little in contrast to the great Theodosius, was beginning to despair. At one point he wore a hair sack as a sign of humility, and after kneeling asked God to help him. Indeed, his plea was heard. At that time, the owner of the area where the seven children had slept forever in Ephesus wanted to build a pen for his goats, sheep, and cattle. As therefore he was taking stones for 2 days from the wall covering the entrance of the cave, his entrance was revealed. Just then God ordered the seven children to be resurrected. Indeed, they came back to life and began to converse with each other as if they had only slept for a day. In fact, their bodies had not changed at all, and their clothes had not worn out after almost 200 years. They had strongly etched in their memory the fact that Decius was chasing them. One of the seven children, Iamblichus, went down to Ephesus to buy bread for everyone, having a coin from the time of Decius. Going towards the city, he saw the sign of the cross everywhere. The buildings different and the people changed. 2 centuries had passed, by the way. He believed that what he sees is just a vision. He went to a bakery and bought bread, giving the coin with the image of Decius. The bakers, seeing the coin, thought that Iamblichus had found some treasure. Iamblichus, believing that they would deliver him to Decius, asked them to keep the coin and the bread and let him go. But they not only did not let him go, but asking him to show them where he found the treasure, put a chain around his neck, and through the main street of the city, led him to the governor of Ephesus. The governor asked Iamblichus to show them the place where he found the treasure. In vain the young man tried to convince them that he knew nothing of any treasure. The names of his father, grandfather, and other relatives were completely unknown to the proconsul. When Iamblichus asked them the whereabouts of Decius, who had arrived in the city the night before, they replied that Decius died about 2 centuries ago. Iamblichus's last hope was the cave. He asked the proconsul and the others to go to the cave, to see signs that would make them believe what he was telling them. The bishop of Ephesus, Marinus, who had arrived in the meantime, realized that something wonderful was happening, and told the proconsul to follow Iamblichus. Indeed, Iamblichus, the bishop, and the proconsul, followed by a multitude of people, headed for the cave. Iamblichus entered first, followed by Marinus, who, looking to the right of the entrance to the cave, saw a box sealed with 2 silver seals. It had been placed there by Rufinus and Theodore, 2 Christians who were among those Decius ordered to build a wall at the entrance of the cave. Rufinus and Theodore wrote the names of the 7 children on lead plates and placed them inside the box. In fact, they also wrote the synaxaries of the 7 holy children, which are books containing the lives of saints. When the other rulers of Ephesus were gathered, the box was opened and the plates were found. When they read them, they were all amazed. They proceeded to the interior of the cave, where they found the rest of the holy children. They fell at their feet and worshipped them and asked them to know more details about what had happened 200 years ago. Bishop Marinus and the proconsul sent a report to the Emperor Theodosius, telling him exactly what had happened. Theodosius hastened to Ephesus and went to the cave. He knelt before the saints and wet their feet with his tears. At the same time, he was thanking God for the obvious proof that there is resurrection of the dead. While the 7 children were conversing with the emperor and the various officials, they fell asleep and dedicated themselves to the Lord. Theodosius, after leaving precious vestments, silver and gold in the cave, ordered 7 cases to be made in honor of the saints and to place their bodies in them. At night, however, the 7 children appeared in his sleep and asked him to leave them in the cave where they were resurrected. Glorious celebrations followed in Ephesus, hymns and words of thanksgiving and praise to God. With this miracle, the truth of the church's belief in the resurrection of the dead was confirmed, and the related doctrine was established. We honor their memory every year on the 4th of August. Wonderful is our God and his saints.